Good afternoon. It's once again 5:30 in the p.m. on a Friday, and I am delighted to be here and to have the opportunity to interact with you. I have had a wonderful week. As a matter of fact, I just got off the airplane a few minutes ago and start making my way down to the studio. Let me tell you, there is so much going on in our world. There's always the antics and whatever's going on in the White House, whatever Trump and the trumpeters are talking about and that kind of thing. But we have some things that are going on. North Korea and South Korea seem to be kind of getting along a little bit. That is, they have agreed to meet. And it's my position that whenever people are meeting and discussing, that is good. And so I am delighted. The reason I'm so happy to see that North and South Korea are at least talking is because no man is an island. Even if you live on an isle by yourself. And that's why I say that every man's death diminishes me. I know for whom the bells toll. They toll for thee. And so if there is war in one part of our world, in all likelihood, it affects the rest of our world. And so peace is so necessary. And I'm glad that these leaders are saying, if it's to be, let it begin with me. I do believe that war is possible and that we have to do everything in our power to try and keep it from happening. There are a lot of things to talk about. Of course, I must confess that I am saddened about the whole set of incidents involving Bill Cosby. There are those who would say that he gets his just due and that he's guilty, and the courts, which is what we rely upon the most in our country, is a court of law, and we have certain processes and procedures that we go through. They have determined that he was guilty, and if guilty, also sick, and whatever will take place with that will take place. But it is painful to see those kind of things happen with and for anybody. When I leave here, I got a couple things to do tonight that I'm excited about. The George Westinghouse College Prep is having their 4th annual gala at the Harold Washington Library at the Winter Garden at 400 South State Street on the 9th floor. They have asked if I would stop by and have some comments, and I am going. And then the New Life Deliverance Banquet is taking place at the Crystal Sky Banquets, 7941 West 47th Street. And of course, my brother-in-law, that is my wife's brother, and his wife are the co-pastors of that church. And I see my wife has put it on my schedule. And so that's almost, I'll be going. They always have good dinner, and I haven't eaten today, so I'll look forward. I'm sure they'll have the traditional chicken and string beans and, bread and butter and more than likely some Kool-Aid or lemonade or whatever it is. And some person will give a great speech that is sermon-oriented, and I'll have a good time. And then I'll go home, and on tomorrow, I've got just, oh my goodness, funeral services in the morning at 10, then something else at 10, between 10 and 2 at the State of the District Pathfinders Prevention Education Forum at 1401 West Roosevelt Road. Health care and public safety, what's happening in Washington. Ms. Renetta Howe Barrett is putting this on, and I will go by. At 11 o'clock, there's another event in a group called the Top Ladies of Distinction are having a banquet, and they have indicated that they would give me an acknowledgement called a reward, award. Then my good friend R.T. Tucker's having a birthday party that his daughter, Rosalind, is having for him. I went to his 85th birthday party, so this must be 86, 87, maybe 88. And then at 3 o'clock, I have a discussion with the Association of Pakistani Physicians. That's going to be out in the suburban, no, that's at 540 North Michigan Avenue, downtown. And then at 5 o'clock, Reverend Otis Davis, he's not a blood relative in that way of mine, but he is a relative anyway, and he's having his 15th year anniversary out on 51st Street, and I intend to get there, oh my goodness, Sunday morning. Reverend Dr. B. Herbert Martin Sr., I guess he's retiring, that's not what they're calling it, but they say that he's moving on to greater works at Progressive Community Church. I always did like him. He was Harold Washington's pastor, but he also is from Mound Bayou, Mississippi, and we actually served together as a trustee on the board of East West University. And so I am going to go there. And so there are just a lot of good things going on. Oh my goodness. So, well, I'll do as many of them as I can, and you should do as much of the stuff that you can do as you can. I know that we've got a caller on the line, and before I go to the caller, though, let me just announce that on Friday, May 18th, Richard Boykin, that is Cook County Commissioner Richard Boykin, is having a second chance resource fair at Another Chance Assemblies at 5138 West Division Street. I expect that I will go to that and participate. And Richard is having a Mother's Day luncheon on Friday, May the 4th, 1 to 3 at the Park District of Forest Park, 7501 West Harrison Street. And he will be honoring mothers. If the good Lord bless and the river don't rise, I'm going to also attend that. I'm sure he'll have some barbecue ribs and probably chicken and dressing and all those other things. I don't know if I'll ever lose any weight going to all of these dinners and banquets. But man cannot live by bread alone. And so you have to have some chicken and some dressing and some peach cobbler and all this other stuff that they have at these banquets. But I will keep going as long as they keep having them because that's the way we communicate. That's the way we organize. That's the way we come together because in unity there is strength and we must unify. Let's go to the phone and see what our caller has to say. Caller, are you there?
Yes, good evening, Congressman Davis. I'm wondering if you would be in favor of a law that would allow someone who's over the age of 75, like Mr. Cosby, to give them 6 months from their conviction to liquidate their assets. And let's say they came up with $25 million. You could make a stipulation that his spouse, Mrs. Cosby, get $5 million, so she wouldn't be hardly left in poverty, and you'd still have a real nice chunk of money, maybe another $20 million to both compensate the women involved in the case and also maybe a little to go to public education programs, because at his age, realistically, it is going to be a death sentence to get that kind of time, and I think you do have to factor that in, but I think they could simplify some of these laws, particularly when it comes to these celebrities, because they have money. And whether it's stashed someplace, there's usually a pretty good record of assets in somebody like that. And they did that to the owner of the basketball team, then forced him to lose his, his livelihood and all his money because he did, he did a lot of wrong things. But he was advanced in age and he had a wife too. So I think people should just sit down together and put together some laws that would maybe go to the heart of people who've reached a certain age and they didn't commit murder. They did horrible things, but they didn't commit murder, and again, when they have money, you don't leave the wife out if they're legally married, but, you give them time. People today can liquidate assets pretty quickly, and I think it would be at least something that people could sit down and work on, and that's really all I had to say. Good evening.
Well, let me just respond. I agree with you. First of all, I am a believer in what I call compassionate release. And I have actually helped individuals acquire compassionate release. I remember one man whose granddaughters wanted him to have a chance to die at home and live his last. And we were able to, he was in the federal penitentiary, and we were able, his legs had been amputated. There was no further harm he could do to anybody, and he was, in fact, given compassionate release. He lived a few months, and then, of course, he did pass away. I think that when people get married, they say for better or worse. But I think if people have assets, then half of those assets should be their mates anyway. So I would be in favor of protecting the assets of the other part of the family. And then people do get punished. I mean, if you commit a crime, there's designed some kind of punishment. And so then I would say take the other assets from the individual and, make some good public use of them. And so I agree with your notion that there ought to be a way to work out where public use of whatever the assets are, but you ought to protect the assets of his wife. I'm saying whatever her share of their assets, those shouldn't be part of the settlements or anything like that. And she gets to keep hers, and his then get used. I don't know what good having a person 80 years old sitting up in the penitentiary all day. And so some sense of compassion, I think, could be felt and used for that. Thank you so much for your ideas and for your calls. I think they make a lot of sense, and hopefully something like that will get worked on and will be worked out. We'll go to our next caller. Caller, are you there?
Congressman Danny Davis, how you doing?
I am doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing. Say hey to the mama at home. I hope she's feeling better.
That's so good.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Danny?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Listen, it's not just Mr. Cosby. It's all kinds of people that are sexually assaulting. You got the subway guy. You got the Seacrest guy. You got the Penn State guy. You got all kinds of big wigs with the sexual assault. I myself, Mr. Danny Davis, am an ex-victim from one of my restaurants. That last caller, I feel bad that he's got to go to jail. I feel bad he's old. But 60 women and the justice system, because of statute of limitations, they couldn't do nothing for 30 years. I feel sorry for his wife. But this man, they are making a sample out of him, Mr. Danny Davis. You got to keep your hands to yourself. I understand he's an older gentleman, but back in the day, because I'm 63 years old, I used to watch him all the time. He had family values on that show. We followed his family values, and little did we know, Tinseltown, you know how it is. Bada bang, all that happened to him. But somebody's got to be accountable for it. It goes all the way to the White House. Look at Tweety Bird up there. I feel so sorry for his wife. But us women are like you men. What if that was your daughter was sexually assaulted by Mr. Cosby or the subway guy or the Seacrest guy? Baby, it's got to stop. I got one more comment. Do I got a little time with you?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, baby. We got big problems with the carjackings in the beautiful city of Chicago. I got an idea. Would you like to hear it?
Go right ahead.
How about a carjacking sting? You gotta start putting them cars with dummies or something in there. It's like a show that used to be on TV. You set them all up. We got to do something about that carjacking.
Good idea.
One more little thing.
I think that's a great idea, and I hope the police are looking.
Yes.
And maybe they'll take what you're saying and arrest a few more of these people, and that will cut down on the carjacking. So it's a great idea. I'm going to share it with the policemen that I know and see if they'll make use of it. Thank you very much, and we'll go to our next caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Congressman Davis. This is Ray.
Yes, sir.
It might have slipped your mind, but that's President Trump.
Yes.
Okay, you've been calling him just Trump. Congressman, I would never call you Danny. I call you Mr. Davis or Congressman Davis because you've earned that right. So, whether you like it or not, Mr. Trump become president, so he's President Trump.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Now I'm going to say this. Now, I know Steve's going to call in and say Donald Duck. Well, you know what? He's a citizen of this United States, and guess what? He should say Mr. President Donald Duck. That's what he should say if he has to say something stupid all the time. All right.
Okay, well, I think that you can certainly disagree with people, and you don't have to be disagreeable, and you can respect people, you can respect the title, and I respect the title of President of the United States of America, and so I will say Mr. President, or President Trump, or whoever it is, they've earned a certain level of respect. Caller, are you there? We'll keep rolling.
I'm going to try to make this really quick, Congressman, but first of all, it is a great day to be on God's green earth. Ray, I want you to truly try to understand what I'm about to say. He might be your president, but I don't consider him my president. He is the president of the United States. But I want to ask you something, Ray, and be honest. Do that gentleman, Donald Duck, in office, does he act like a president that we are accustomed to being seeing? Real quick, now the young man, he was very right. Camille do not have the right to suffer also. But I remember there was a one of the ladies or the attorneys said that she was there when it happened. We don't know, it was never went to court, but yet and still his family shouldn't suffer for what he did. Far as we concerned, he has been convicted of what he's doing. But don't hurt the family. Listen, what happened, Congressman, in Washington about Haymarket people that was brought there to let's save that place? Listen, I know it's long.
We had let me tell you, we had the president and CEO of Haymarket in Washington, D.C. this week, and he testified, Dr. Dan Lustig, and he gave great testimony at a hearing that I was a part of. I was pleased to invite him to come, and we appreciated his great testimony, and Haymarket is going to be fine.
Thank you, Dan. I mean, Congressman, again, I told you, you are a caring person. Thank you for being that man that I knew that you would be. Let me go because I know there's somebody else that want to call in.
Thank you so much, and we'll take this call. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Hear me.
Yes.
We need to take from this incident that has happened, and I'm speaking as a female, 80 years plus. We have to teach our young ladies how to not to go to men's homes. What are we teaching our children with this? It takes two.
It
and
does.
I'm not impressed. I'm not sticking up for him. But we need to teach our daughters. You don't go to a married man's house. And they need to change their dress style. They still try to lure men.
Some of them certainly do that, and so we have to teach each other as much respect as we can, but everybody should be taught to do the right thing.
That's the truth. And you have a wonderful week and continue on doing all the good work that you're doing. Thank you much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if I got another call, caller, go right ahead. I tell you, well, if not, that's quite all right, because we got all kinds of other things that are going on. Well, you know, we're going to be talking about the Me Too syndrome, and we're going to be talking, you know, I have been taught that if there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. I'll say that again. If there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. And so I hope that we learn from these incidents. Women have been abused by men far more than men have been abused physically, and I would say even sexually, by women. And so we're moving into a new era of time. And I often say to young boys and young men, I speak to them a great deal in colleges and universities and on campuses and on high school. And I guess if we just simply live by the golden rule, learn to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. If we live by that one simple principle, I think the world will become a better place in which to live. Thank all of our callers, all of our viewers, all of our listeners. Have a great weekend, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Do something good for somebody, and somebody will do something good for you.